Hello and most welcome to 2024 of the series. We will today take a look at an article by Sir Roger Penrose. If you're acquainted with his theories, he's by Lee Smolin pointed out to be the greatest genius of physics in modern times, a true genius. And he has a very different idea of consciousness. Therefore, I think it's very interesting to bring him up. I'll first read something from this article from Nautilus, and then I'll have a little commentary. To weave it in. Roger Penrose on why consciousness does not compute. It does not compute. Once you start poking around in the muck of consciousness studies, you'll soon encounter the spectre of Sir Roger Penrose. The renowned Oxford physicist with an audacious and quite possibly crackpot theory about the quantum origins of consciousness. He believes we must go beyond neuroscience and into the mysterious world of quantum mechanics to explain our rich mental life. Rich mental life. No one quite knows what to make of this theory, developed with the American anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff. But conventional wisdom goes something like this. Their theory is almost certainly wrong. But since Penrose is so brilliant, and here's my quote actually from Lee Smolin, we'd be foolish to dismiss their theory out of hand. Out of hand. Penrose, and I think he's over 90 now, is a mathematical physicist who made his name decades ago. With groundbreaking work in general relativity and then working with Stephen Hawking, helped conceptualize black holes and gravitational singularities. A point of infinite density out of which the universe may have formed. He also invented twister theory. Twister theory! A new way to connect quantum mechanics with the structure of space-time. With the structure of space-time. His discovery of certain geometric forms known as Penrose tiles, an ingenious design of non-repeating patterns, led to new directions of study in mathematics and crystallography. Crystallography. The breadth of Penrose's interests is extraordinary, which is evident in his recent book, Fashion, Faith and Fantasy in the New Physics of the Universe, a dense 500-page tome that challenges some of the trendiest but still unproven theories in physics. From the multiple dimensions of string theory to cosmic inflation in the first moment of the Big Bang. He considers these theories to be fanciful and implausible. Implausible. Penrose doesn't seem to mind being branded a maverick. A maverick. Though he disputes the label in regard to his work in physics. In regard to his work in physics. In physics. But his theory of consciousness pushes the edges of what's considered plausible science and has left critics wondering why he embraces a theory based on so little evidence. Very little evidence. Most scientists regard quantum mechanics as irrelevant to our understanding of how the brain works. Still, it's not hard to see why Penrose's theory has gained attention. Has gained attention. Artificial intelligence experts have been predicting some sort of computer brain for decades, with little to show so far. And for all the recent advances in neurobiology, neurobiology, neurobiology. We seem no closer to solving the mind-brain problem than we were a century ago. Even if the human brain's neurons, synapses, and neurotransmitters could be completely mapped, which would be one of the great triumphs in the history of science. It is not clear that we'll be any closer to explaining how this 3-pound mass of wet tissue generates the immaterial world of our thoughts and feelings. The material world of thoughts and feelings. Something seems to be missing in the current theories of consciousness. In the current theories of consciousness, something's missing. Still, what do you say? The philosopher David Chalmers has speculated that consciousness may be a fundamental property of nature existing outside the known laws of physics. Others, often branded Mysterians, claim that subjective experience is simply beyond the capacity of science to explain. Of science to explain. Conventional wisdom goes something like this. The theory is almost certainly wrong, but Penrose is brilliant. Sorry about the repetition. The repetition! Or the iteration. The iteration. Penrose's theory promises a deeper level of explanation. He starts with the premise that consciousness is not computational. Not computational. And it's beyond anything that neuroscience, biology, or physics can now explain. Can now explain. We need a major revolution in our understanding of the physical world in order to accommodate consciousness. In order to accommodate consciousness. Penrose told me in a recent interview. The most likely place, if we're not going to go outside physics altogether, is in this big unknown, namely making sense of quantum mechanics. Of quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics. He draws on the basic properties of quantum computing, in which qubits of information can be in multiple states. Multiple states. For instance, in the on or off position at the same time. The square root of -1. These quantum states exist simultaneously. The superposition before coalescing into a single, almost instantaneous calculation. Quantum coherence occurs when a huge number of things, say a whole system of electrons, act together in one quantum state. It was Hameroff's idea that quantum coherence happens in microtubules, protein structures inside the brain's neurons. Inside the brain's neurons. And what are microtubules, you ask? What are microtubules, you ask? They are tubular structures inside eukaryotic cells that play a role in determining the cell's shape as well as its movements, which includes cell division, separation of chromosomes during mitosis. During mitosis. 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 What do you give me for that? Hameroff suggests that microtubules are the quantum device that Penrose had been looking for in his theory. In his theory. In neurons, microtubules help control the strength of synaptic connections, and their tube-like shape might protect them from the surrounding noise of the larger neuron. The larger neuron. The microtubule's symmetry and lattice structure are of particular interest to Penrose. He believes this reeks of something quantum mechanical. It reeks of something quantum mechanical. Indeed. Still, you'd need more than just a continuous flood of random movements of quantum coherence to have any impact on consciousness. The process would need to be structured or orchestrated in some way so we can make conscious choices. Conscious choices. In the Penrose Hammerall theory of orchestrated objective reduction, known as ORC-R. These moments of conscious awareness are orchestrated by the microtubules in our brains, which they believe have the capacity to store and process information and memory. And memory. Objective reduction refers to Penrose's idea about quantum relative gravity. Quantum gravity. Quantum gravity. How superposition applies to different space-time geometries, which he regards as a still undiscovered theory in physics. All of this is an impossibly ambitious theory, that draws on Penrose's thinking about the deep structure of the universe, from quantum mechanics to relativity. Relativity! As Smolin has said, all Roger's thoughts are connected. All from his twister theory, his philosophical thinking, his ideas about quantum mechanics, about quantum mechanics, his ideas about the brain and the mind, and the mind. This is a heady brew, but unconvincing to critics. Most scientists believe the brain is too warm and wet for quantum states to have any influence on neural activity, because quantum coherence only seems possible in highly protected and frigid environments. Frigid environments. Frigid environments. The most damning critique has come from Max Tegmark, a professor of physics at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, who calculated that any quantum effects within microtubules would break down after 100 quadrillionths of a second. 100 quadrillionths of a second. I believe that to be very little indeed. For my thoughts to correspond to quantum computation, they need to finish before decoherence kicked in. So I need to be able to think fast enough to have, I can't even make it up, but it's at least 10 billion billions each second, thoughts each second. Tegmark writes in his 2014 book, Our Mathematical Universe, My Quest for the Ultimate Nature of Reality. Perhaps Roger Penrose can think that fast, but I cannot. But I sure can't. Even Penrose's old collaborator, Stephen Hawking, is dubious. Is dubious. I get uneasy when people, especially theoretical physicists, talk about consciousness. He's written. He's written. His argument seemed to be that consciousness is a mystery and quantum gravity is another mystery, so they must be related. Be related somehow. Penrose dismisses Hawking's criticism, saying that disagreement is really about the nature of quantum mechanics. Of quantum mechanics. Last year, I saw Penrose in action at a one-day conference on consciousness in Lucerne, Switzerland. In Lucerne! It was an intriguing assortment of speakers, including the neuroscientist Christoph Koch, Buddhist monk Mathieu Ricard, the Tao of Physics author Fritjof Capra, and even an ayahuasca expert. Then there was Penrose, who played the part of the unworldly Oxford Don, slightly rumpled in appearance with an impish sense of humor. He had set up two overhead projectors on stage, and then darted back and forth between these machines, laying down a series of transparencies filled with his own handwritten notes. Hooray for the old style! And drawings of neurons and microtubules. The, the Leaning Tower of Pisa, a floating astronaut, and as I recall, the Little Mermaid. In Copenhagen, maybe. In Copenhagen, maybe. In an effort to explain the Ork-Or theory of consciousness. Modern science may be a high-tech game. But this was a dazzling piece of performance art, and the overflowing audience loved it. Loved it. They loved it. And here I will put a stop to 2024. And have a look-see at some quotes. Let's have a look-see. Let's have a look-see. I will also refer to the previous lecture, 2023, where we spoke about how consciousness is the other side of the creative power of reality. The observer is the reading off of fractality. And it cannot be there without. There will be no world without an observer. And I think the lesson from quantum mechanics is actually the same. The second paragraph on page 2. Oh, it's a page 2 here. Oof. I don't think you have pages there. It is 1, 2, 3, fourth paragraph. That would be. Most scientists regard quantum mechanics as irrelevant to our understanding of how the brain works. I say that simply doesn't make sense. The world is quantum mechanical, and therefore the brain or the consciousness have to be it as well. We just saw in fractality the importance of the observer. Without the observer, we have no reality. An observer-dependent reality is what we have. I think that is rather beyond doubt. All facets, all aspects, to make a pun with Alain Aspect, are quantum mechanical. Of course, it is obvious. We go to the next paragraph. Consciousness is not computational, and that consciousness is beyond anything that neuroscience, biology, or even physics can now explain. We need a major revolution in our understanding of the physical world in order to accommodate consciousness. This is very important. And remember what we said in 2023. Not the year, but the previous lecture. When you bring in imagination and reality, the square root of I, which is a necessary part in quantum computation and in quantum mechanics as well. You get reality, but you get no reality if you start with the stain or the existences. The world as we know it is not built up of existing things only, but also of imagination. What is not present, what is simply not there. The unreal, the imagined, the things we only think, or can hardly think even. That is a live kicking essence of reality. Go figure. This we know. It is already established. And the last sentence on this page, a bit further down on that paragraph, quantum coherence occurs when a huge number of things, say a whole system of electrons, act together in one quantum state. In one quantum state. In the next paragraphs, you find sort of hints to where could this start? Where are the microtubules? I said the underlying reality of everything. Is quantum mechanical. It's the quantum field. And as you see, in a reality where there is no scale, the observer naturally slides into reality and become a constitutive part, a sine qua non, a fundamental that you cannot put aside. Realizing that consciousness will slide back into reality, become something you understand better because it's already there. It is already participatory, already doing its work. Already active, pertinent, systematically doing its thing, going up and down the scale constantly. This going up and down the scale, as it looks like from the orthogonal perpendicular geometric system of the Euclidean Cartesian coordinates, is actually sliding through reality, either zooming in or zooming out, constantly moving about. That is reality, not the idea that the detached subject is walking around inside somehow and with a necessity for a homunculus to be inside, and even more absurd and paradoxical panopticon, the all-seeing eye of Wotan or Zeus, or what you prefer, doesn't make any sense. No, we are inside and outside at the same time. Without the subject, there wouldn't be a reality to walk about in. It is there so obviously in the creative process, in the sliding out, in the sliding in, up and down, back and forth, and between the subject and the object. I recommend here for soothing, or I would say making these sharp divisions more flexible, not taking them away, no, not at all, but making them permeable, less obstructive, malleable, something that you can enter more easily, not as disjunct and parted. Not as absurdly distant. It is local and it's non-local at the very same time. I mean, it's pretty obvious that the world and the consciousness is quantum mechanical. How could it not? It would be an absurdity if there is a classical sort of free zone. This part of reality is classical, the rest is quantum mechanical. And in isolation, this classical physics exists only there and nowhere else. I believe not. No, we're sliding in and out constantly. I'll end there with a happy note that reality becomes real first once we accept consciousness, because then we can delve into the absurd deep depths, almost like Tegmark has said, 1/4 of a second. Why not a quadrillion of reality, or depth of meters, of solar years, light years, down there in our consciousness, in the deepest, deepest fractality, because our consciousness is fractal as well. Do think about it. I say thank you very much. Have a very happy morning, day, or evening, wherever you are. Bye bye for now. Recording.